Announcement made, Wesley. If anybody has any questions for the Q&A, now's the time. Prepare to hold your ears, folks.
You can say that all at once. I got 13 people.
Hello, everybody. Have you guys talked to Sapphire?
I just lost video.
Yes, no? Ed is up here with the staff people right now. He's actually on our live stream, and he's answering questions. He's doing a little bit of a Q&A. If you guys have any questions, weird or otherwise,
Reconnected.
He's
It's up.
excited to answer any questions. So feel free to come up here, ask any questions.
It has a connection delay, so it has to flow through.
Gaming, all that stuff.
Anything.
Anything.
Just not hiccups. Off the table here. We got a question right here.
Yes, sir.
What does it feel like to be with a girl?
That one's for you, Ed. I play with the computer all day. They said anything and everything.
You let that one through?
What? I didn't get through. What?
My cohort Doug over here let that question through.
You say, Doug, you're up.
Doug, you're up.
Okay. You may screen your questions.
What's it like being with a girl? It's better than the internet porn. Okay?
A lot or just a little?
A lot.
The porn comes back a lot.
It's Crazy Billy Bob, my buddy.
Is it true that you'll eat anything that has cream in the middle?
Here's a loaded one. You're the one that said open into the house.
Technically, I wasn't over here yet.
He's fired. You want the job?
Sure. Oh, yeah, but he's going to be better.
He's got a point.
No, I will not eat anything with cream in the middle.
Okay.
Well, there goes that urban myth.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take one online while he tries to get this situated. My thoughts on DirectX 12 will get about devs and GPU support. Okay, first, there's a lot of talk going on right now about the DX12 API benchmark. Take it with a grain of salt. That's good news for AMD fans because the numbers are showing that AMD has optimized for this type of an API. And that's good to know. That's going to potentially be a big deal as it goes forward with DX12 based games. But this is only performance potential. The actual games themselves, until we see them develop, there's no way to know what the real return is going to be. But it looks like we're going to have a really good turn for gamers because a much lower cost card with the 290 and 290X is performing near Titan X levels in this benchmark. So we're seeing the potential for some really great performance gains at a lower cost. That's good for gamers.
But it's still up to a game-by-game basis.
It's still
when
up to
we
a
see the
game-by-game
game
basis.
start to come out for DX.
Right. I think we're going to see DX12 games faster than people believe. Look at Mantle. Nobody believed Mantle would do what it does. Work for, 12 titles? It's a lot of titles that have Mantle in it, and Mantle has proven this works. DX12, I believe, is going to have that same kind of rapid adoption. Remember, this was not the original, from what I've read, the original part of Microsoft's roadmap for DX12. They hadn't meant to come to this level so quickly. Mantle kind of forced-fed it. And Mantle's success means everybody gets to benefit. So this is really something that's cool. I'm excited about DX12.
Competition always makes the market better.
That's right. Okay.
Hey, so I've got two questions for you. The first is, do you have an ETA for the release date of the 300 series?
Yes, the 300 series will be announced.
All right, that is great news. And then how about...
It wasn't very subtle, was it?
Red tape,
that
yes.
kind of answers my next question. Let me try to rephrase my next one.
I ain't betting on nothing till it's here.
Would you guess on the amount of months after the release of the 300 series until we'll see a release of the 300 series dual GPU card?
Yes, that is due to come.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
I wish I could answer those questions, but there are so many variables that I have no control over beyond the NDAs. There's a lot of things that have to come into play and things have to line up a certain way. As soon as I can announce it, I'd love to tell everybody. I'll scream it from the mountaintops. Right now, I just don't have anything I can give anyone.
That's the problem with being the second party anyway, is
Well, it's not just the second party. It's the problem with having lawyers sit behind you because
we ain't got no lawyers behind us
and
today.
wanting to
but
keep
yes.
your job.
Yeah. They're all out there.
Okay, let's see. Let's try another one here from the internet. What's the best way to push devs to move to DX12?
Someone make a really good AAA title. Just send it out there.
I don't know if there's a good way. Well, I understand what he said. I don't know if there's a good way for the consumer to push DX12 development. I don't know that there's a way to make that happen. It's just, it'll happen when it happens. There's no way to push it out there. But the devs I know quite a few devs, they're so excited we don't have to push them. DX12 and Mantle took out a lot of API overhead. They make it a much cleaner way for them to program. And the potential use of multiple cards and other solutions is huge compared to what's ever existed before. Their scope, their ability to program has been broadened dramatically, and they're excited because they get to really begin to innovate again. Up till now, it's been more the same. You just needed more horsepower. Now we're about to change that. It's not going to be just about horsepower. It's going to be about how you use the horsepower.
So we're hitting another innovation gap.
We're going to get an innovation gap with software. I'm really excited about the potential of this.
Would you say this is an innovation gap that's about borders on when we went to the 64-bit PCs?
No, I think it's bigger. I think it's bigger. 64-bit really just ramped up again more of the same. It was not a change in the way things are done. Let me give you a very specific example. One of the things that Mantle does, and a lot of people don't talk about, is it has the, and I believe DX12 has the same feature, that's why I'm mentioning this. It has the ability to, with multiple video cards, not force the standard alternate frame system that multiple video cards have used up till now. You can actually use the two GPUs independently. So you can make one GPU render the general background of the image, and the other GPU just render the foreground. So it let you take and alternate the horsepower to where you wanted to do as a developer and leverage it. That's not more of the same. That's a drastic change to the way these games can be developed.
And
so it's not the same thing. 64-bit was just more of the same.
And if you got an entire card just dedicated to rendering the background, that's going to make
that reduces it makes super detailed backgrounds, and it reduces the load on the second card, so it can focus on more high detailed foregrounds.
And that even plays into more focus on less power to do more work.
Right,
we've been running it.
Plus, you can do stuff like now you can take part of that card, part of it, and switch it over because parallel processing is so good for AI work. Part of that can now do AIs, which means potentially more complicated AIs. The ramifications of this, I don't think most people can even begin to comprehend what potentially we are looking at.
And with some interesting AIs, we've had Alien Isolation with its dynamic Alien AI, the game that never plays the same twice. Right. So
I'm not a big fan of that game.
It does come out boring. It does come out a little bit boring at times. A whole bunch of nothing.
Well, it was funny. What made the game great was, for the first time, the sheer terror of the original movie was captured in a video game. And that's awesome, because that was missing. It's also not a great video game. Okay, you can only live on the edge of terror for so long before you're like, oh, okay, that's enough, let's go to bed. It doesn't hold you, it doesn't captivate you. It's a good game, but it's a game that it's rough to place. Some people love it. Some people, like myself, aren't that thrilled because it didn't engage me for very long. It's just a matter of choice. But that's the good thing about PC gaming. There's something for everybody.
Something for everybody.
All right. Oh, no. Billy Bell's back.
I got a legitimate question.
He let you through again?
Yeah, this is a kind of a two-part question.
Okay.
Since we're on the threshold of VR being a reality, the technical limitations with the current products as we see them are 2 panels, about 2K apiece, and we're shooting for that above 90 hertz refresh rate.
Right.
And we're going to see a bunch more textures. So what I can see is we're going to have to get faster cards with bigger frame buffers. Do you see anything different than that? And can the current gen cards keep up with that?
I think first, Well, let's address the second part of your question first. I think that it's the technology has to move. I don't disagree with that, but I think we also need to see a more elegant solution. There's ways to do things beyond brute force, and again, DX12 is showing us that. Sometimes it's about how elegant the solution is, not how powerful the solution options are. And so that's got to evolve a bit. Now, to the first part of your question, I'm not sure we're on the threshold. All right? I think we're beginning to see this arrive, but not the way people believe. I don't think it's ready for the consumer mainstream yet. I think we're still at least 2 to 3 generations away from the consumer mainstream with this kind of VR. And that's kind of scary because there's new VR already coming up behind it. Look at the stuff Microsoft just showed with their glasses to augment reality.
That's AR, it's not
Right.
VR.
It,
Two
but
separate
I'm saying,
products right now.
But I'm saying they're going to overlap in what they can do. And I'm not sure that we're going to see either of them become mainstream. I think what's coming after them is going to become what's mainstream. We saw this with 3D. Everybody's like, oh my God, I can't wait to get 3D. 3D is all but dead because it wasn't ready for the mainstream, but it got shoved into mainstream. And I'm hoping we don't do that with VR. Now, AMD's putting a lot of effort and a lot of initiative behind VR, and hopefully that helps VR development speed up a little bit. I'm not one that believes we're like, oh my God, by the end of this year, we're going to see people having VR systems on a regular basis. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be niche market. Another year, maybe 2, then we'll begin to see it. But I think what we'll see in that mainstream will not be recognizable as what we're seeing right now.
Current gen consoles going to be able to handle it.
No,
We're gonna
current
have
gen
to have a
consoles.
refresh
I don't
before
think
that
current gen consoles in any way can handle that. The initial release is all going to be PC.
It's where it should be.
It's where it should be.
I know Sony's been trying to push Project Morpheus a little bit, but the problem there is that they simply don't have enough power under the hood for devs to take it seriously.
Right. What else we got here? Hold on.
And not a lot of people like to wear the big plastic block on their face.
Find those two uncomfortable.
Okay, next up, we're going to do a couple of these questions, then we'll come to another one here. Okay, let's try, what is your favorite part of gaming? Not sure I understand that question, but okay. How about this? My favorite style of gaming is RPGs. I love role-playing games. I grew up as an old school D&D or pen and paper. I actually met and bought my original D&D copy from Gary Gygax. So, and he was a great guy. I love talking to him. He gets a lot of press, talks about how he was standoffish and even rude at times. Dude, he was constantly hammered by people. If you got to know him before all that hit, he was a really nice guy.
Just like anybody else.
Just like anybody else. Who is the better voice actor, Morgan Freeman or Christopher Walken? Christopher Walken, oh my God, how can you not love that voice?
You just turned down the voice of God.
I don't care. Christopher Walken, come on, Christopher Walken. Seriously? If I have to listen to one, he's more fun to listen to. I sound almost like Morgan Freeman. Leave me alone. Is DX12 good enough to drive 4K or higher displays? DX12 is a move we've had to make if we're going to go to 4K. It's a move that had to be made. We had to get more efficient to move to 4K. Now, again, though, you're talking to someone who's not a big fan of 4K. 4K is neat. 4K is cool. 4K on a 29-inch monitor is going to make you go blind. I don't know if you've tried it. If you put a spreadsheet on a 29-inch 4K monitor, my goodness, with a magnifying glass, it's still tiny.
Well, we're both
we're both dead
sight
blind.
challenged.
I'm a bigger fan of 21:9 displays. I think ultra-wides are more impressive for gaming than 4K monitors. And 4K is going to help them as well. But yes, DX12 is going to help 4K. Operation Fit Gamer. These guys are asking about this. Give me a second to talk about this. So, I'm a big guy, if you can't tell. And I've been trying to lose weight. I've been trying to get fit. And I just recently got a water rower. And if you haven't ever tried one of these, they're so cool to work out at home. And I decided, and I got inspired by Jay over Jay's 2 Cents. I decided that let's get everybody involved in this. Let's have some fun. So I started a Twitter campaign. It's hashtag Operation Fit Gamer. I ask you, exercise each day, post it. It's not to brag, it's not to show off, it's to be accountable to others, to have support from others that, all right, you exercised today, all right, you did something today. And we as serious gamers tend to need the exercise.
Knock it out of the chair, tend
Yes.
to miss meals.
Yes, not get out of the chair. Okay. We'll talk backplates in a moment. And, okay, next question here. Who's got a question?
Do you have anything to comment about GL Next?
Well, you mean Vulcan?
Open, yes.
Whatever they're going to call it, okay. It's going to be interesting to see how Vulcan plans out against DX12.
Right.
Vulcan's got a serious advantage in the fact that it's OS agnostic. It can run across everything. And that to me is a huge deal. I'm a big fan of open standards because I believe that when you open up these APIs and stuff, this is one of the reasons that I like what AMD does. They tend to stay away from proprietary technology. They try to go to things that are more open. I think that Vulkan has the potential to be really cool. Mantle is very well developed, and AMD is shifting literally everything in Mantle into Vulkan. So that's going to give Vulkan a big head start out of the gate. I think that at the end of the day, DX12 might win. Now, I know that's not going to be a popular answer, but the reason why is Microsoft is a giant. All right, I don't care how big the rest of the companies in the world think they are. Microsoft moves the PC gaming world at the end of the day. No, Gaben does not. I'm about to just get hate mail, okay? I'm about to get hate mail. Microsoft moves it. Microsoft has realized they've missed the boat. They let slip PC gaming, and they're starting, my sources inside Microsoft, there is a ramp up taking place. When Microsoft gets serious about anything, everybody else in that industry trembles. Because Microsoft doesn't, it's not that they buy their way in, it's not that they bully their way in. They have, over the years, just really, when they get serious, have a lot of talent and can bring some really impressive technology to the table. And I think that's what's going to happen with DX12. DX12 is going to be hard to not take super seriously because while Vulkan's going to be agnostic across OSs, DX12 is going to work with PCs and with 360 or Xbox One. That's a bigger advantage than people are going to give it credit for. One of the big complaints I've got with consoles right now is I want to play, maybe I want to play Dragon Age with some buddies, but they're on console, and I want to do multiplayer with them. I can't. DX12 is going to fix that. Xbox One players can play with PC gamers in many games once the development takes place. The interaction is going to begin to exist. That's a huge deal. It's not getting a lot of attention, but it's a huge deal that's going to make this a really tough nut to crack. I'd like Vulkan to do better. I just think DX12 in the end is going to win again. And I don't think it's a bad win for PC gamers. So, all right, where are we at here? Back plates. They want to talk back plates. Okay. I don't know what you guys want to talk about with back plates. I know part of this. I ask a question about why people like backplates, if they like them for functionality or for actual just the aesthetics on video cards. And the truth is, there's a lot of debate on this. Backplates are not nearly as functional as people believe they are. Okay, now Sapphire does a good job. We make sure our backplates are actually attached to allow them to work as heat sinks. But a backplate can only do so much without a lot of re-engineering. If you keep it simple, a backplate's only going to be good for a couple of degrees centigrade of change of temperature. If you didn't properly configure the backplate to work as a heat sink, it works the reverse. It holds heat in. So that makes it kind of a mess. To talk about it from a functionality standpoint is this. Further, the other advantage of backplates is it creates a rigidity to the video card. It gives it strength. There's some stuff coming up, I can't talk about it specifically, that's going to kind of negate that one too. We got some stuff we're working on that's going to kind of negate that. So it then becomes purely aesthetics. Well, then the question is, though, is it worth the extra price for the purely aesthetics? There's an increased cost to add a backplate to a video card. If all you're getting it for is the looks, is it worth the looks? for the extra cost.
Or do you just want more under the hood?
You want more under the hood? Yeah,
My
it's
thing with the backplate is if it's not engineered right, you're just adding more weight at one of possibly the weakest points on the car, right there at the connection.
okay. And your comment there, I think I just addressed it, but again, some backplates do help with the VRAM, some don't. It depends on the company and if they implemented the backplate as a proper heat sink or not. Some don't do that. Some just attach it for the cosmetics.
It's all in the design and the
It's all in the
engineering.
design. It's the company that made it and what their plan was. It's all right. We have any other questions here? FreeSync.
They giving you a hard time?
Yeah, they're asking me all the fun questions. Okay, I got to have more than that to talk FreeSync. I mean, if you want me to do the generals, I can do the generals of FreeSync. The concept of FreeSync is really cool. The idea is with VSync, when you run under the VSync point, there are stair-stepped drop-offs that the monitor does. So when you get under 60, I want to say the next drop-off is 40. I don't know if that's right or not, but it goes to the next drop-off, and there is a stutter that's created by the sudden change of frame rate that takes place. You see, that's even more important than the actual frame rate. The human eye, everybody talks about, you can't see this many frames per second. Forget frames per second. The eye doesn't see that way. It sees continuously. What the eye does see regularly, very well, is drastic alterations. The eye catches change. And when you take and dip a frame rate really quick, I don't care if it's from 200 to 100, the eye notices the change and perceives a stutter. So ideally, you want a steady stream frame rate. And what's happening is FreeSync allows a range where that frame rate, even if it dips, it doesn't have a drop-off. It's just a gradual change because the frames just keep rendering. And it allows a nice, steady, smooth playback in everything you do. We've got some work to do. This is the early release. There's a couple of monitors that are using very narrow FreeSync ranges. There's already some discussion about that. That needs to be corrected. We need the bottom number of FreeSync needs to go down a little bit. It's a neat technology. I've seen it in action. It really works. I like the fact that you don't pay a huge premium for the monitors to be able to get this.
That's always a big plus.
That's a big plus. Okay. No follow-up question on that. I mean, I'm not sure what else they want to know. I think it's a really cool technology. The people that are going to benefit the most from it, though, and this goes back to a complete misunderstanding that the enthusiast community unfortunately perpetrated on gamers. It's a misunderstanding of how gamers use video and monitors, all right? We pushed out the idea that first-person shooters are what's important for video cards, and that's a lie. The average first-person competitive shooter knocks the detail level to 0, sits at 1080p, and cranks out 100-plus frames per second. And they do that because they need that instant response between the mouse and what's on the display. They need that fast response. Detail doesn't matter, okay? When you're playing Battlefield 4, first, even at low detail, Battlefield 4 looks good. When you're playing Battlefield 4, you don't spend time to stop and go, look at the lovely architecture of that building. You don't do that. You're running around all the time, shooting and blowing things up, ducking for cover. And super high detail is lost on those players. The super high detail are RPGers because we stop, we look at the flowers, we look at the waterfall, we absorb the ambience of the appearance that's around
The
us.
infinite amount of cutscenes as well.
Right. Okay. The infinite amount of
Transitions from the game to the cutscene back to the game.
But RPGers don't need the twitch frame rates. Anything much past 60 frames per second for the average RPG makes no difference in the gameplay experience. It doesn't matter. So, RPGs crank up the detail levels more, can settle for lower frame rates. Having that ability now to work between, say, 30 and 60 frames per second and stay butter smooth is a big deal for RPGers. First-person shooter players are already cranked up well above 60 frames per second. The RPGers are who are going to benefit immensely from this. That's what's got me excited about this technology, is that change that gets to take place for RPGs.
Now, what about for those single-player first-person shooters that like to crank up the detail and Twitch reactions?
then it's a different
don't get
story.
your cake and eat it too?
Well, you can. You get your cake and you eat it too. But most of them then kind of move into the realm of the RPG player. The Twitch reaction is still important. Here's a lot of myths that exist. People complain, why don't we have more 144 hertz 1440 monitors? Because driving 144 frames per second at high detail at 1080 is hard. Okay, it's hard to do with high-end cards to crank that detail level up. We've thrown this out too much. And again, I don't want to pick on the enthusiast community. I'm an enthusiast. But the general enthusiast community has completely ruined the perspective. The solution, it sounds like the federal government with the school. Throw more money at it, it'll be better. Well, we can't throw more money at it. Dude, we got to buy games. We got to feed our kids. We got to have our house payments and our cars.
And as much as people like the top end of the game, we have 150 people in this room, and I think about 40 of them are playing League of Legends, and another 20 are in the Team Fortress 2 server.
Well, and it's not just that. Independent games are growing leaps and bounds, and indie games tend to not push hardware really hard. So this notion that we need super high-end stuff is part of the problem with this. The 280X, an amazing card. The 290, an amazing card for the price points, for performance. 1080p, crank the detail levels to the roof, and you get that amazing gameplay. 1440, you start getting up there, you need a 290X, but even a 290X, even a 980 begins to really stretch its legs at really high detail levels at 1440. And then you move to 4K, forget it. This up multiple cards, you can't push 4K super high detail. It isn't going to happen. So it's, okay, where are we at? It's time to stream some more Garden Warfare. Absolutely. Garden Warfare was, in my opinion, the game of the year last year. And I am mad as hell.
I think it gets some arguments.
I'm mad that nobody even tried to mention it. Okay, here is a game that graphically is just fun to look at. It's fun to play. It's good for all ages. And it's just got a continual rollover of play. It's multiplayer, it's solo play, it's got all of it that you could want. And it's a blast. And plus, think of Battlefield 4 players. I played Battlefield 4. I suck, but I played Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4, you're playing, and somebody gets up behind you and they snipe you in the head and you die. And you rage quit, or you spend 20 minutes just mad as hell, and you're pounding your keyboard, and you're just insanely upset. Okay? Now, let's take that over to Garden Warfare. A sunflower snipes you in the back of the head, and you turn around to see the sunflower do its little dance after it's killed you. You can't be mad. It was a sunflower. You can't be mad at that, okay? When the chomper bites you, people laugh at me. I'll play a chomper, run around. Every time I kill somebody, I start screaming, "Feed me, Seymour!" And there is a fun element that's to this game that you can't quantify it, but it's there. And most games today just don't seem to have that kind of just pure joy and fun and whimsy. And it just saddened me that it never even got mentioned in Game of the Year options. So you're right, it may not have been the Game of the Year. It should have been considered. And it never was.
I remember when it was first pulled up at E3, I don't think EA put the right marketing behind it, because people weren't entirely sure if it was Plants vs. Zombies, because there was a Plants vs. Zombies 2 coming out about the same time. They weren't sure what exactly it was, and I think that's what turns a lot of people off of it.
It's easier to muscle marketing into an existing franchise like Battlefield. And don't get me wrong, Battlefield's okay. Personally, I don't think since Battlefield 1942 they had a great Battlefield. I think they've been good games. I don't think that capture your attention intensity that 42 had has been there in anything since.
But we could go on all day about how the AAA titles for the last 5, maybe 10 years have been
it's really
good
sad.
games, but not very many great games.
No, there have been very few great games that have been out. Even some of the games today that are considered great, I think missed some marks. I've been really sad as a MOBA player. My favorite MOBA is an old game called Demigod. It's a similar MOBA. It's a smaller group MOBA. It can be done without online play. and I had a lot of fun playing it. I played the new MOBAs, they're okay, but none of them really get me excited to play like Demigod still does to this day. Even in RPGs, we have this whole renaissance taking place. Indie developers have brought back the old school RPGs. Pillars of Eternity just came out. Oh my God! It's like you've gone back to Baldur's Gate. And you've added all the new stuff and kept what was great of the old. You've gone back to the old gold box edition of D&D games from SSI. And you've gone back to these, and you've got this amazing experience again of a true RPG taking place. It's neat to see that that's happening, that renaissance, moving back from technology is great, technology is cool, but real gaming is about more than the technology. It's about the fun of the game. And it's really cool to see developers starting to recapture that.
Developers actually looking at it from a standpoint of, are the people playing our game going to have fun? Not necessarily, are the people playing our game going to buy it and feed us money?
Right.
Which
It's a nice change to see. All right, any other questions online? Because we've run out of questions here. I'm surprised at that.
I think it's dinner time. People are
Yeah, it's
wanting
dinner
to stuff
time.
their face.
Okay, so we'll give it a couple minutes here for the stream to catch up for questions here. You going to throw anything in, Doug?
Doug's not a very verbose person.
You've already been pranked enough.
Pranked. You set me up. Those were
Oh,
set
that's
up
for the people on stream, but you missed the Mexican dinner we had last night.
Oh my
where
God!
It was pretty much the focus of,
If somebody says they need dental floss and you're drunk, don't let them buy it. That's all I can say. Don't let them buy dental floss. There's a story there that will never be told and will never be spoken of again.
I don't think we can actually tell it on
No.
Twitch. They might ban this account, so.
I don't know. I've said a lot of things on the air on live radio that we thought would have the black sedans pull up to my house.
The FCC or Pussycats compared to Amazon.
Oh, well, that's true. All right, so any other questions left on the stream? It looks like we've answered everybody's stuff.
Looks like you got people, man.
Got to give a shout out to all the guys over at the VLAN for AMD. Awesome event going on there right now. In fact, in about an hour and a half, I'm going there to do a giveaway.
Oh, so you're not just handing stuff out here.
No, I'm doing 2 LAN events at once, man.
You can't, as much as you travel to LANs, you still have to do 2 at once.
I love PC gaming. PC gaming is a hobby that's been nothing but good to me my entire life. It has brought me countless hours of joy and fun. I have made amazing friends, met amazing people, done some really cool things that when I was young I never could imagine I'd done. PC gaming is one of those hobbies that encompasses everything. One minute you can be doing something as simple as playing Bejeweled or Candy Crush. The next minute you can be Captain Kirk commanding the Enterprise against a Klingon fleet. And then you can turn around and draw your 2-handed sword to defeat the dragon that's trying to rule the land, or you can build a city to make all your people happy. PC gaming has no limit. It has no limitation except your imagination. There are games for every thought, every style, from educational. Believe it or not, Kerbal Space Program is educational. Hearts of Iron, you get an amazing education as to what happened in World War II. From educational to simulations to pure whimsy to high fantasy to science fiction to horror to anything you can imagine. Anything you can imagine. It's a wonderful hobby. And anything I can do to promote it, push it, help it, I'm going to do. And luckily, Sapphire is a company that helps do that, wants to help do that, and we produce a product that makes your PC gaming better.
Well, I'm sure we'll get Ed to do his Reverend of the PC gaming world sermon at some point. Maybe not midnight. We might be a little too tired for it then, but
I don't know. We could do it sometime. We'll see if we can grab some time this afternoon. We'll just out of nowhere.
Just get you on camera over there in the raffle area.
Well, we have to because we've got a saved soul down here at the end of the
we
road.
have the Apple that blew up. They built a PC.
We have prayed him out of the Apple demon monkey off his back
And he can now play video
and
games
brought him into the world of PC gaming. Hallelujah.
with Gaben and everyone.
Yes, even Gavin. The false prophet, even Gavin.
Real prophets can count to 3.
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
All right. So we'll take off from here, go play some games, and
I'll go get some dinner because I got to be back for Hearthstone.
have fun.
I'll try.
I'll see you later, brother.
See you later, sir.
Whatever, we'll get it there.
We'll get it. Thank you.
All right, we're out of here.
We'll put the music back on, so you don't have to look at my ugly face anymore. I know Ed's pretty, but
Dude, I've got a face for radio. Yeah, in the purchase.